I don't know how to do it. I don't know. That's the whatever start sound. Hi. Welcome to my first video. I'm Armel, from Armadillo Art. Um, I'm the owner and the artist for the shop. Quick background so you know where I'm coming from. I'm relatively new to the vending space. I started tabling around 2019, but then you know what happened. So I'm just getting back into art, and now that I feel a little bit comfier with actually tabling and being out and about. So just want to talk about Anime Washington and the Spokane version, or edition. I don't know what to call it. Um, and just talk about my experience vending there. For this particular vending, or I guess con, I have 4 goals. Number one was having the fees to be as cheap as possible to be able to attend the con. And second one is to make all of those expenses back. And third one is, of course, once we reach that, make a profit. Be really nice. And fourth is basically just making new friends, new art friends. So just the four, just the 4 goals there. So for this one, I soloed the actual event. So I, I don't know, it just feels kind of, I guess, maybe overwhelming to kind of also having to think about having all of this, footage and actually vlogging and such, when I'm like just there alone. So, not a lot of footage. I have footage just basically going there, and which we'll talk about. There's gonna be little descriptions and like videos and photos to kind of like, so that y'all can have a better gauge of what I'm talking about, I guess. Let's talk about the fees. So the actual fees for me to attend, the table fee was $180 flat to attend the 2 days for Anime Washington. I did drove there instead of flying. So parking fee, I choose to actually park at the convention, so that was $15 a day, so $30 total. And I chose to only B&B for one night. And that was $48. I believe it was like $48 and some change, but we can say 49, whatever. And then gas was around $60 total, to and coming back. The price to get gas at Spokane was actually cheaper. I found one gas station that was around $3.10 per gallon, which is kind of, really awesome to see. But coming back from Seattle, I think in my local Costco, it was like $3.99 per gallon. So total was 60. And then food costs. I honestly didn't. Of course, like the cost for this, it's like it varies for everyone. Just like the gas and the B&B. For lunch and breakfast, essentially, I just ate like snacks that I brought from home. And then for dinner, I just went to Chili's because I always wanted to go to Chili's. And honestly, I only got their mozzarella sticks, which was bomb. It was so good. One of the best mozzarella sticks I've had. And then the next day, I just had pretty much like a big breakfast, I guess, and coffee. That was around $30-ish total for food expenses for me. So really not that much. I was trying to be within budget, essentially. So yeah. So total was around $350-ish to kind of pay the expenses to attend this con for me. So yeah. Let's talk about how, like, getting there. So I chose to drive from downtown or First Hill, Seattle to Spokane. I don't know if it's Spokane or Spokane. Every time I say Spokane, my friend would like always correct it to Spokane, so maybe I should say Spokane. Anyways, from Seattle, it was a 4.5 hour drive. Um, so, again, I wanted to make this con as cheap as possible. So that means I didn't want to stay two nights at a B&B. So I chose to drive the day of the actual con. And to give me enough, like more than enough time to set up and everything, they opened the convention for exhibitors at 7 a.m. So my goal was to arrive there right at 7. I woke up at around 2 a.m. and then I actually left and start driving at around 2:30, which I have footage of. I might include it if it's not grainy. It was like dark and there was no lighting. I just wanted to like, you know, get it started essentially. Okay, just about to go to Spokane. It is almost 3 a.m. Almost 3 a.m. And we're gonna have around 4 hours and 30 minutes of just driving there. So let's go. Which is it ended up fine. Like I won't recommend doing that for people who are anxious drivers or are not confident in driving in the dark. Looking back, it was a little bit silly, I guess, because that's 2 a.m. Friday night essentially, right? So I did saw some swerving from people who were probably drunk driving. I don't know. I stayed in a distance, so of course I couldn't tell. I'm not gonna, I don't know. I don't want to investigate essentially. I just want to get to Spokane safe and sound. So I won't recommend if you're not confident dealing with that type of situation and those type of drivers. So but I got, I guess, lucky. I mean, I saw a few. I saw like maybe I saw someone like got pulled over. I saw a truck driver got pulled over like in the middle of the highway or freeway, I don't know, going to Spokane. So like people were definitely tired driving. So yeah, I would recommend to like people generally, but I was pretty confident. For me, I feel like it would be fine, which it ended up being fine. Yeah, I just slept a little earlier the night before, made sure everything is already like packed for myself, and you know, essentially waking up and then going, have coffee, have like my little breakfast, and then start driving essentially. I did have my Pride playlist just blasting essentially. I also rolled the window a little bit down just in case I hear something that I couldn't hear, you know, otherwise. So I was pretty set up. So anyways, that's what I did to make sure it's as cheap as possible. This is actually my first attending a con that's like requires like a little bit of traveling, right? Or it's quite a distance. So I just didn't want to have a lot of financial risk to do it, to be able to attend and everything. So that's why I did what I did. And spoilers, it ended up being good. So I just karaoke the whole way, the whole 4 hours and 30 minutes to get there, which was, I don't know, it was a good time. It was a good time for me. And then I ended up getting there around 7:10 a.m. I parked at the convention center. Everyone was really nice. I don't know, like I feel like everyone was in a good mood for some reason, or maybe I'm projecting. I was in a good mood. So yeah, I park at the convention center pretty close to, I believe it was the east entrance, which I believe is the main entrance for attendees to get in. As far as I can tell, I believe there was 2 ways for exhibitors to kind of load in. Either, you know, if you didn't have a lot of stuff, you can basically do what I did, just park, grab your stuff, and then just go into the main entrance, which it was locked, but the staff there and security was very attentive. wary. I don't know. They're very much like looking out for any exhibitors that are trying to get in, which is really nice because when I wheeled my stuff up, they immediately just kind of like saw me and they were like, "Oh, are you an exhibitor?" And I'm like, "Yeah," and then just let me in. The actual badges for you to pick up is actually by the load-in dock, which makes sense, right? Because like most exhibitors will probably want to use that entrance instead. Um, so yeah, so I used the east entrance. I found my booth, which they already sent out, I believe, a week prior, or maybe it was early in the week. It was pretty much close to the actual date of the con, which is pretty cool. I just have to like look it up. Everything's already laid out. There were signs. It was kind of it was kind of hard to kind of find someone that was like a staff member that were, I guess, in charge of like making sure all the exhibitors know where to go and everything. But I don't know. I basically just asked whoever it is, like whoever's that's around me, and just I believe they were also one of the exhibitors, and I just asked them, "Hey, where did you get that badge?" And then they're like, "Oh, it's by the loading dock," and I'm like, "Okay, cool." So everyone kind of, you know, you just have to ask. Like, it wasn't like quite laid out. Like, it wasn't like dead obvious where it is, at least for me. So yeah. Once I found my booth, which was labeled. They didn't have the actual name of the exhibitors labeled on the tables, which what honestly, for some reason, I was expecting that, but you just have to find your actual booth number, and then they label it that way. So mine was B4, and I don't know. The sign was pretty big, so I can't really miss it. I did wish there were more obvious signage, or at least a staff person that was kind of maybe right by the entrance that was just ready to kind of answer and greet exhibitors, and like, you know, making sure people know, I don't know, like where to go, I guess. But also it was not that hard to kind of figure out. I basically just drop off my stuff, which I didn't bring a lot of stuff. I just brought like one medium-ish large luggage with all of my stuff, and then like a large tote bag to carry my signs. I just essentially making sure that this is like one person proof. So yeah, I dropped all my stuff, went to the loading dock. I think the person was having a maybe perhaps a bad morning, because they weren't really like the nicest per se, but also they don't need to be nice or anything. But I was just kind of like, I came up to them and I'm like, "Okay, where can I get the badges?" And then they were just like, "Here." I'm like, "Okay, sorry." So anyways, I just got my stuff, my badge, and then went back, grab water. I don't know, kind of like try to make myself like comfortable, I guess. Like, I want to make sure like I have my water, I have my snacks while I'm setting up the booth. I never had an 8-foot table all to myself before. Having all of this space to kind of work with is definitely what I needed. I didn't realize I was so like trapped in an enclosed space with a 4-foot table for some reason, because I always feel like I don't have enough stuff to sell, and it being all laid out in a table, suddenly I'm like, oh, I need more space. So I didn't realize I was having that problem. So it was really nice to kind of play around with it. I brought, you can see it in a little video or photo that I'll put in. But I put like a turf, I think that's the word, like a fake grass essentially that I got from the dollar store. And I've seen a couple artists do that. I also was taking inspiration from like I really like how glossy, which I am not a makeup person, but like I definitely appreciate their store. I just really like how they laid out their products, and that's the type of like I think approach that I want to do with my products. I just really like combining like I guess vegetation, is that the correct word, or like flora, like to like I don't know, my setup. I actually really like the setup that I have. I just wish I had more prints to showcase the surrounding area of the grid cubes that I have. But other than that, I really dig it. I really like it. Let's talk about the vibes. The vibes of the actual con. I did have one weird interaction, which I'm not really gonna get into because it's not that deep. And like, I was fine, everyone was fine. The guy was just kind of weird. But other than that, you know, it's good. It's good. So everyone was mostly local here. Um, I would say, including most of the artists and exhibitors there, they're either just a state away or like a 2 hour drive away, or in my case, like also in my case, like they're coming from Seattle. Um, and I did know one person that was that flew in from Alaska, and that was the one person that I know that's like I guess the furthest. I did have a few bestsellers that was sold out from the actual show. My Zack and Cloud standee, which I wasn't surprised that it was one of the bestsellers because that is my bestseller in my online shop. I was pretty surprised for so for this con, it opens at 10, but VIP attendees are able to come in 30 minutes earlier, so 9:30. I guess I never experienced like an immediate sale before from like the 5 to 6 markets that I've done. Usually it takes a little bit, like maybe 15 or so minutes or 20 minutes until I get my first sale. So I was kind of like gagged, I guess, from that. Like that person was like just kind of looking around with like their group of friends and was like, oh, and then they noticed my Zack and Cloud standee, and then they immediately just, yeah, I'm gonna buy it right now. And then it was so funny because one of the friends I think was like, oh, you don't want to wait until later, and then the person was like, no, 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 I'm just gonna get it right now. And I'm like, okay, cool. That one was immediately sold out the first day, which is great for me because I really want to make like a new rendition of it, with like a more current style that I like. So I just want to renew it. The second bestseller was my Aaronville charm. That one is very new. I believe I made it a week prior of the before the actual con, and that one was sold out, which is really great. I love it. I was kind of like skeptical a little bit for some reason. I'm like, oh, nobody wants this version of Aaronville, whatever. But people bought it. It was sold out, which is really awesome. I saved one for one of my friends because they also really want the Aaronville. So that was pretty cool. And my third bestseller was something that I was trying to get rid of. As I've already mentioned, 2019 was the last con, essentially. Well, early 2020 was the last con that was the last time I start trying to sell my art, I guess. So I had so many of my Devilman Crybaby print. Because I really like it back then. But now that I'm like trying to get back into it, I have all this inventory over like art that I don't really connect to anymore, I guess. So that was really cool. That surprising that was one of my bestsellers. So I'm happy. I'm happy with that. I don't think it's gonna make a comeback. Maybe it will. I was kind of like playing around with the idea of making a new rendition of it, just like my Zack and Cloud standee, but Zack and Final Fantasy, anything I'm still very into, and I will probably continue make more products of. I don't know about Devilman Crybaby. I usually am the type of person that like if I have like a good visualization in my head, then I would do it, but we'll see. So yeah, 3 bestsellers, really awesome. Honestly, the spending habits, I would say, okay, comparing it to like my other shows or my other events that I did from uh, mid this year to this one, this came as like second best. My highest, I guess, grossing sale for an event was back in Pride, which was really awesome because it was my first time coming back to like the tabling scene, and this one was pretty much a close second. I guess I was kind of wondering why it wasn't as busy as I kind of hoped for. It's still pretty good for me, just numbers wise for me. But I definitely thought this will be my highest grossing one compared to the others. And I have just one theory, which is, I mean, a few theories. I don't think people really save up for this con, just like if they were really excited to go to like Sakura Con or Emerald City Comic Con, which is like the two bigger ones, I would say. And in addition to that, this con is stacked with a bunch of like guests for like signing and such, um, which is one of the driving force for me to kind of like risk attending the con itself, because I'm like, okay, their guest list seems to be pretty stacked, so I feel like the turnout was pretty good, and I also really like the hype they were building up in their at least Instagram. So that's usually what I kind of like look at, whether or not this con will be worth it for me financially wise. um so um so that's one of the bigger reasons why I attend. But I was told by the exhibitor, the other vendor, that it costs an additional like around $50, I believe, for an autograph for one of the guests that you like, and $40 if you brought something for them to sign. I try to imagine someone like they didn't plan to really go to any extra cons for the year, right? And then they heard about Anime Washington and they saw the guest list, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I really love their character, would really love to go, and then they only have so much extra, disposable income. So they're like, okay, cool, let me just buy that, let's say, just a $50 ticket for 2 days, let's say they have two guests that they want. One is Saturday and one is Sunday. And that's $50, and then in addition to that, that's another 50 for like the autograph, and if they're trying to get two guests for some reason, that's already $150, right? So with all of that pricing, like, that's the price that they can use. They probably save up for that, right? So they set aside around $150 to actually attend, and then maybe a few extra change for the artist alley, right? Like, not a lot of people, I mean, for me, whenever I go to cons, I love the artist alley, but a lot of people, they just go for the actual guests. And I feel like that was the case for this one. And I think spending habits wise, unless they really truly love either your stuff or the actual character that you made a product of, money's kind of tight, right? So I think that's one of the reason why it didn't really hit my expectations, like gross sale wise, which, I mean, it is what it is. For me, Saturday was the bulk of like all of my sales. I made all of my expenses back by, I want to say, 3/4 of the way of Saturday, and then after all that is just actual profit, like actual like net sales. So that was pretty cool. Although Sunday was very slow. It was like very slow. Granted, the hours were 2 hours shorter, but I only made around 30% of what I made Saturday. So it really wasn't that much. And I think a lot of it were from other artist alley vendors or exhibitors, which is really sweet. It's like a saying where like we're all just passing around the same $40, which is like very sweet. So yeah, so Saturday was pretty good. Sunday was slow, but it was fine. It was very I want to say low effort. It was very chill because I had time to like wake up a little bit later, have breakfast, get coffee, check out of my B&B, taking my time essentially. Um, and then when I get there, it was just a lot of people just kikiing. We're just like sitting around. Um, so yeah, and then again, the attendees were really sweet. Um, One of the things that I love about cons is whenever like people just kind of like compliment each other, like they would like kind of like stop someone like, oh my gosh, I love your cosplay, or not even like if they're cosplaying like, oh, I really love your, I don't know, necklace or something, which is like really sweet. I always love that type of vibe from like conventions. Um, so yeah. So that's pretty much the vibes and the spending habits. Um, would I do it again? Would I attend Anime Washington, specifically the Spokane one again? Yes. I would do it again for the scenic drive. I really, unless the plane ticket is super cheap that I can't pass it up, I would probably attend it via driving again. And also, there's not a lot of local cons that I can really attend. Right now, I'm doing mostly markets, like local markets in my city, which I really like. um, but like bigger cons is definitely where the bulk of the money is, unfortunately. Um, and I believe the two biggest one again is Emerald City Comic Con and also Sakura Con, and those only happen once a year. And it's also sometimes you don't get in. You don't, what do you do then? What do you do then? You can't do much. Table fee was to me, very justifiable. $180. A lot of cons nowadays definitely charge $300 and up, and like sometimes they don't, it really doesn't even guarantee a lot of attendees. So this is one of the good ones in my eyes. So yes, table fee is great. Hopefully they don't raise it, and if they do raise it, hopefully it's only by $5 or $10 or so. That will be really awesome. But for me, 180 was justifiable. If it's cheaper, it'll be better, but Also, I made actual profit, which is always great, and then the attendees and the staff were really nice. Security was good. I feel like I could breathe easy, I guess, whenever they have like the metal detectors and all these things for attendees to kind of like, security for people to actually attend the con is always a good idea, in my humble opinion. Next section. What would I do differently? I definitely would bring a friend, not to be confused bringing like a helper. Soloing was pretty nice and all, and everyone was really sweet, and like I made friends, which is really really good. But also bringing like a familiar friend will be kind of like nice to kind of like crank up the good vibes. This is definitely not a con that you need a helper for. Like don't confuse it. Like you definitely don't need a person that you hire to actually help you do the con. You don't need that, but bringing a buddy, great, would be good. And I would also, well, this is mostly just like my setup stuff. I would up my I guess setup, my table setup. I would bring a bigger banner. One person in particular definitely did bring up on Sunday that like, oh my gosh, I attended yesterday, but I didn't even see you. So definitely I could have a bigger banner of some sort. I would definitely, the next time I would extend my stay at least by another night. The first day was pretty rough for me, and it was also the busier day, so it would be pretty nice and chill if I actually either get there a day early. That would be pretty nice, but I still have no regrets. But next time, if I have more financial leeway, I would do that. I would also bring a jacket. I feel so silly for not bringing a jacket. I'm just so used to like summer outdoor markets that I didn't even think about needing a jacket for some reason. I don't know. I just forgot a jacket. Lesson learned. I would also, looking back, since I had the option to actually drive there, I could have brought more inventory. So yeah, noted. I would also have business cards. That's been on my list for a while now. I just have this giant QR code that I printed and like try to make look nice, for my booth for people to just take a picture of, and then they can go into like my link tree. On Sunday, there was a bunch of people that was just asking for business cards, and I just keep having to tell, no, I don't have it. And then like I have a QR code and it's just not as cute, you know. So I'm in the process of designing business cards because I do want it to be cute. I used to have a lot of business cards, but again, that was from, you know, essentially 5 years now, and things has changed. My shop name is different now too, so I gotta make a new one. I gotta make a new one. Yeah, so those are the stuff that I would do differently. So yeah, that's my recap for Anime Washington Spokane. Really good. I really like it. Would do it again. And yeah, that is it. This will be my first video, I think, that I post. I don't know if I'm just gonna do a lot of like just con reviews or con vlogs, I guess. I mostly just want to do something that's like chill, just my thoughts. I just want to kind of start documenting the shop's progress, essentially. Kind of have it all laid out in a video will definitely help me organize, I guess, what's going on in here. And kind of keep track of like what my goals are and like, you know, where the shop is going next, essentially. Kind of keep tabs. So yeah, the next vlog is probably gonna be just a studio vlog. We'll see. There is a few things that I have to like restock and redesign, so I feel like that would be pretty fun for me to kind of edit and kind of go through and record, and then kind of go from there. So yeah, I I wrote down the intro and everything, but I did not wrote down an outro for some reason. So yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video. All right, bye.